about the amendments to the amendments. And it was emailed to all of the commissioners as well as the county staff, so that hopefully folks can see it. And that information will then be in whatever version ends up existing from here on out, if it's moved. Vice Chair Lentz, do you have a clarifying question or point of information?
I have a question for our clerk. Is it possible from where you're sitting right now, Katie, to put a temporary version of just that document that everybody was emailed, to put it out in the document center, or can you not make those updates on the fly?
Yeah, I can make those on the fly. Do you want it like on the document center on the website? Is that what you're asking?
Right, where you click through to view proposals, if people are looking at it online and are on their phones, so they can see it.
Yeah, I can help with that.
All right, so I believe where we were at with discussion was on to Commissioner Consuelo.
Sorry, my question was part of Commissioner Fletcher's question, and then he had a proposal, so I'm going to actually think.
Oh, Commissioner Consuelo, can you say that again? I lost the last bit.
Oh, sorry, I was just saying, my question's been answered, basically. Thank you.
All right, over to Commissioner Rosina.
Commissioner Roden.
I did.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am in support of this amendment. It pretty much covers because I was going to propose another amendment to the section that Commissioner Fletcher made adjustments to, but he covered basically what I was going to, except for limiting the executive powers, but I believe that the amendment, the way it's written, sufficiently covers the council having the authority to appoint rather than just the executive, and it will be a sufficient means for filling vacancies. Thank you.
Commissioner O'Leary.
This is just a procedural question. With this change, do we need to have a legal review before we go into further discussion on this?
We, in our procedures, have not done that. We could then, if requested, have that be a part of future discussions should it make it on the offer.
Not trying to complicate it, just want to make sure we're okay.
Thank you. All right, any additional discussion, Commissioner Surratt?
Commissioner Surratt, District 5. I'm going to be speaking hesitantly in support of the amendment, and I think it's a very good amendment. It's a very logical one, and it's one I myself consider providing to this body. And in fact, if you go through the record of the amendments that I've submitted related to vacancies, suspension, and acting officials, it previously included a larger role for council to make strategic interventions, or at least interventions related to an emergency scenario, which I think would be, which I think a criminal suspension would qualify as. I do think that this proposal makes a clear and decisive statement that council has a overarching role in the executive branch in emergency situations. And that does make me uncomfortable because it, I think, adds complexity to the charter, and I don't think it's precisely aligned with the charter as it is written at this moment, but I don't think it is wrong. Let me explain. In 1980, when this charter was created, it of course created a legislative and executive branch with an executive as the CEO of the county. And as executive, the charter provides that office all the powers not otherwise vested in elected officials. In 1980, at the same time, the sheriff was appointed, and furthermore, that paid suspension mechanism was already in the charter. They were all created at the same time. And that tells me Pierce County voters elected to adopt a strong executive in their home rule charter. Since 2006, however, we've had an appointed sheriff. And at that same charter review commission that worked to appoint the sheriff, there was another ballot measure that said, that day-to-day administration of executive elected duties was to be handled by that elected official, and there wouldn't be any day-to-day involvement of the executive. No micromanaging, in other words. So I think the public has made it very clear that they want independent elected officials, and they do not want those elected officials to be micromanaged by the executive. I think the public was very clear on having a checked executive. Having said that, though, my proposal, as it is currently drafted, says that the executive can only step in executive branch affairs during criminal suspension, which now, because of this body, relates to only felony suspensions. That, I think, is an emergency. And if we are having an emergency in the executive branch that's eroding public trust, eroding the ability of that office to do its work, then there is a emergency that I think the executive, by the charter right now, is tasked to handle. And that is to step in and make an acting authority appointment. I think that's a power that is vested to the executive because it's not otherwise tasked to any other elected official in our current charter. So Commissioner Fletcher's amendment would take that responsibility of the executive stepping in and making that emergency appointment and give it to council. That's one way to do it. I think that's one of two ways to do it. Give it to the council, give it to the executive. Both are processes that are ripe for politicization. They're not perfect. They're one of two ways to do the same thing. But I think that the charter has the executive possessive of that power. So, like I mentioned, I'm going to be voting in favor of the amendment with the overall goal of making improvements to the charter in a myriad of ways. The acting official process that's defined in my proposal and as amended by Commissioner Fletcher really does fix a gap in the charter. It eliminates the primitive, outdated, useless executive pro tempore function and makes it better function that applies to all elected officials. That's great. And it does other transparency and accountability measures that I think are worthy of installment into this charter. And if that can get the requisite number of votes to show a good consensus on this commission, that we can then send to the voters and say there is a broad interest in making these improvements, then I'll be happily in support of doing that. Again, I'm going to be supporting this amendment.
All right, and just for everyone to know, the language is on the website under the document center for the charter, so if you'd like to be able to look at it, it is there for you. All right, seeing no additional, sorry, I'm looking all over the place. Seeing no additional discussion, I will move to a vote on the amendment to the amendment. So all in favor of the amendment to the amendment, please raise your cards. All right, all opposed, please raise your cards. We have one opposed. And then any abstentions? I think that actually is everyone, so that motion passes. So that does bring us back to the amendment as amended, and I want to make sure we just take a vote on it, even though we're voting on the same thing essentially twice, just to make sure we're going back in order. So all in favor of the amendment as amended, please raise your cards. So it's Commissioner Roby's amendment that is now amended to Commissioner Fletcher's language. I just want to make sure we're going all the way back in order, doing the thing. So all in favor of the amendment as amended, please raise your cards. Any opposed? I don't see any. And any exceptions? Seeing none, that motion passes. So now we are on to the proposal as amended. So back to C40 as it has been amended multiple times. Any additional discussion? Commissioner
And I
Westchester?
think we go all the way back to creating a motion to move it to the hopper.
Correct. That is what we're doing right now. Any additional discussion? Yeah, can you please? Oh, yes, sorry, we okay. Thank you. Yes, we are, I am seeing them, I can read them aloud if other folks are. Thank you. All right, any additional discussion on the motion to move C40 onto the hopper? Seeing none, since this is a second reading, we will do a roll call vote. So a roll call vote to move C40 as amended to the hopper for final consideration.
And George Consuelo,
Aye.
Mason Fletcher,
Yes.
Kate Ginn. Aye. Sharon Hennick,
Yes.
Caleb Heinrich,
Aye.
Elizabeth Herrera, Billy Joe Heatherington,
Yes.
Jake Hunter,
Yes.
Barbara Lance,
Yes.
Justin Layton,
Yes.
Brenda Likens,
Yes.
Brenda Valesky,
Yes.
Jerome O'Leary,
Yes.
Holly Rogie,
Yes.
Rujana Roar,
Yes.
Devin Rydell Kelly,
Aye.
Troy Sarad,
Yes.
Jen Marie Strickling, yes. Judson Willis,
Yes.
and Kelsey Barron.
Yes.
So I should have 19 in favor and 1 opposed.
All right, that motion passes, and C40 will move on to the hopper for final consideration. Thank you, everyone. That moves us on to first readings. We'll start with C21 on page 49 of your packet, and this is carried over from May 11th. So it's from our meeting last week. We didn't get to it, so we'll start with discussion. And again, this is not question and answers. These are my thoughts on the amendment, on the proposal, and it's an opportunity for amendments. So, Commissioner Roby, if you could do a short introduction for your proposal, and we'll move on to discussion.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
My question is, we've already done the introduction, shouldn't we just be into debate?
So, I thank you for that point of order. I think especially because sometimes it's a while before we get back to a proposal, I would love to hear very short introductions, just so everyone's on the same page. So, point not well taken, but thank you.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I will keep it short. People should have the right of referendum. This does reference the Washington State Constitution as the limiting body, or as the limiting document. And I think this is good for the people of Washington. We want our voices heard. We need a way to be able to talk to our legislators, council members, and elected officials when they aren't listening. Thank you.
And thank you, Commissioner Roby, for keeping it succinct. All right, any discussion on C21? Commissioner Hannick?
I believe that we have some other referendums, topics down the line. So if this should get to the next stage, I'd like to incorporate all the referendum topics together, including a change I'd like to make to potentially expand the number of days as an amendment. I didn't want to bring it up until we were looking at all of the impacts to the referendum section and the initiative section.
All right, additional discussion. Seeing none, what we will do now is just move it on to second reading for next week. So next week we will talk about C21. All right, that brings us to C26. Community stewardship carried over from May 11th. It's on page 50 of your packet. Again, very, very brief introduction, Commissioner Strickland.
I'm talking now?
Yes.
Okay. Sorry, it's a little muffled in the microphone. Yeah, so my amendment is for C26. Or no, we're talking about the other one, aren't we? Shoot,
We're
sorry.
talking about C26. You're good.
C26?
Community stewardship.
Okay, am I supposed to be reading it into the thing or?
No, it just remind people about the topic so that we know what we're talking about.
Oh, community, okay, so community stewardship and litter abatement and beautification. So this is not to be, this is something that I want to recommend that the council takes on, so not something we bring to the ballot, so I want to remind people of that. But it is a way for people to use, for people to clean up their beautification bill so that they clean up the litter and have equipment and different ways to do that. Promote environmental stewardship, public housing, community well-being, supporting resident-led litter abatement and beautification efforts across all geographic areas of the county, including rural, suburban, and urban communities. So that's what the bill is, or that's the amendment is about. And do I need to go further, or?
No, well, that's perfect. Thank you. Any discussion on C26? Commissioner Lewski?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes,
Can you get real close to the microphone?
thank you, Madam Chair.
1, 2, okay, thank you. Clarity, Madam Chair, for something that is going to be identified more of a council intervention versus us as commissioners, is there a procedure in regard to that so that we're not taking up the commission's time if something's going to be considered for the council to do that, you know what I mean, instead of having it on a list?
Thank you for that point of clarification. In our procedures, we do not have a specific pathway for that. That is, I think, the intention as we come to a close is to figure out what we would like to send to the council as recommendations, but that is something we still have yet to discuss. I saw Commissioner Layton, but Commissioner Lewis, do you have additional clarification?
I guess just to add on to that, this is first reading. At second reading, if the body determines that because of what Commissioner Strickling said, that it's not her intention to have this considered for placement on the ballot, we could not advance a second reading motion to place in the hopper, but a different motion to put it somewhere else for further consideration at second reading.
Commissioner Likens?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Lyons, District 7. So, can you hear me okay? There you go. There it goes. Commissioner Lance was right on what I was going to do, is I was going to make a motion. Do we need to wait procedurally until second reading?
I don't think so. I think we could make it, let's just.
Okay, I was going to move this very well intended amendment proposal to be removed from consideration for continuing in the process, but for the concept to be included on an executive report to go to the council at the end of our commission.
And I have a second from Commissioner Hunter. Discussion on this motion, Commissioner Brinkley.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I am supportive of the motion as long as we have the opportunity to discuss and maybe review and clean up the language as necessary.
I think since we haven't established a procedure yet, I think that is definitely something that we can do as we get to that point of discussing what's going to go to council. Yeah. Commissioner Heatherington.
Thank you, Chair. Commissioner Heatherington, District 2. To Commissioner Roby's point, yeah, I just want to make sure that there, maybe it's an amendment to the motion to ensure that it has a place on a future agenda for discussion, whether that be towards the end of our time here on the commission or wherever when we're discussing, we're putting together our final proposal to send back to the council.
So I have an amendment to the motion to place this on discussion, future discussion when we are deciding what to send to the council.
When we're crafting what we're trying to send to the council, yes.
Do I have a second for that? Second from Commissioner Likens. All right. Any discussion on that amendment? Commissioner Lincoln, did you have a discussion?
Yes, point of clarification. And we are going to be voting on, as a body, we're going to be voting on what goes to the council as a recommendation from this body. Is that correct?
So we have not developed any sort of process yet for that, so that is absolutely something we could consider. I think right now it's just moving it on to whatever that discussion is.
Okay.
Commissioner Ward?
Commissioner Rohr, District 6. So I have concern that this is unfair to talk about amendments at this point that will just go directly into consideration by the council. We've had other amendments that we voted down. This at this point changes the process. I don't think that's fair to every other public amendment that's been brought forward or commissioner amendment. And I do want to speak to this amendment. So I strongly support.
Commissioner, we're talking right now. So you're speaking about the amendment to move it on to a future discussion? Or on the amendment to send it off to the council?
Can you repeat that?
Sure. So right now we are discussing the amendment to put it on discussion in the future when we are talking about what to send to the council.
Sorry, I'm just not grasping that. So I don't believe we should be moving it on to the council at this point.
Okay. Thank you. All right, I have Commissioner Morosky.
Thank you, Madam Chair, point of clarification. The thing is, we're not trying to move this to the council directly. What we're doing is hopefully down the road, we will have a plan put together and what the process may be. So it goes to something similar to what we're doing here with the charter, see if it qualifies to go to the council. All right, and I think that's what we're trying to do.
Thank you. Commissioner Layton.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I think Commissioner Molesky was getting to what I was going to suggest instead of us amending each one, because we're amending a specific motion now that won't affect any other motion moving forward that we might want to send to the council report process. So my suggestion, and I'm not doing an amendment, I'm just saying I maybe would be very interested in perhaps a process that is being developed. Perhaps I know you, Chair, and Vice Chair are doing a lot of work, but if you can develop a secondary hopper process about how we digest ideas that don't make it to our ballot hopper, that might benefit everybody in understanding what that looks like. And I'll just say one more thing to a debate process about how this is unfair. We could have made this motion on any other proposal that we've heard before. It is a motion that is valid on the floor. I've thought about this motion before. I was suggested not to do it, but we can postpone a motion at any time. We can do anything with an idea that we want, good or bad. That's your feelings, but this is totally a valid motion on the floor. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Commissioner Herrera.
Sorry, Commissioner Herrera, District 2. I guess I need a little bit more clarity as well. I came today to with my notes to discuss this, and now we're talking about a second hopper, and that's just brought up just as we're talking right now. So I'm a little bit confused, and I don't like any backdoor dealings. I'd like to know what's going on. And so the second copper thing is really throwing me. Like I said, I came to discuss this today. And I don't understand what it means by we're not voting on it. I came to vote. I came to vote today. Thank you.
Commissioner Randall Kelly?
Thank you, Commissioner Rose Kelly, District 4. I just want to echo the comments by Commissioner Layton that any time throughout this process, people have been making motions like this, it's not unreasonable in any way to have a secondary pathway for things advance. And, you know, the amendments that were killed early on were reintroduced by some folks in different formats to make it more powerful. There's a whole lot of different ways people go to process. And people have been making amendments to amendments to make them more reflect amendments that they lost on. So to say that we can't do this, but that we can do other similar adjacent processes that people kind of make it on the fly, but they're also procedurally correct, I think is the problem. And all of this is in service of trying to get us through all of the stuff we have in discussion. And this meeting I just found out gets out very soon. And there's a whole lot more to get through in the coming few weeks. So I think we should take it in good faith. That folks want to move this forward to another layer of discussion so that we can get to all the other amendments that are on the agenda, and also trust our chair and vice chair to figure out the process. Thank you.
Commissioner Hammack?
Commissioner Hammack, District 1. I think that all of us here came with the intent of trying to weed out and discuss the important things that might go to the ballot. Then, as we get towards that, through the next month and a half, we, what we did in the past charter reviews, have seriously considered everything as if it was going to the ballot, but then realizing ballot space and other things, the good ideas that don't make it to the ballot might end up at the council level. So I would say that right now would be a little bit too early to say it's going to go to council without going through the process and then weeding out, should it go to the ballot or should it go to the council in the ultimate days of June when we make that decision. So I'm a little uncomfortable making prematurely that this will go to one place or the other, and that we should move it along if we like the idea, and then decide once it's in the bucket. That's part of the hopper. The bucket is to say, oh, this will go to the council. And it has been given a thorough discussion through the process.
And I do just want to clarify that the current motion or the current amendment is to simply move this on to a future discussion when we are discussing items that will go to the council. So just to make sure everyone's on the same page there. Commissioner Consuelo.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Commissioner Consuelo, District 6. I think stoking the flames of uncertainty is always annoying, especially when we have public. So there aren't any backdoor deals going on. We are actively having a process being put forth to the commission in order to see what we're going to do to take next action. So wanted to point that out first. And yeah, so if we're going to take action on these recommendations to council, we're not saying that this is automatically going to circumvent that and it's going to wind up on, you know, the executive's desk right now, the council's desk right now. But we are asking the question as we have limited time in this process as to what we are going to be doing. And yeah, I agree. If we are going to do this purely for the amendment or the proposals that get put into the hopper, or if we're going to go through like a forked road type of process, that will be up to us. And it's all clear in these public meetings.
Commissioner Langens. We really got it.
Sorry. Thank you, Commissioner Langens here. I just wanted to clarify, this is a tiny bit off topic, not directly, but the amendment that was originally made was for consideration to go to council. It was not to go to council. So, and I'm making it in the moment, just thinking of a way to allow the process to continue to move and have our most efficient use of time. Just for that clarification. Thank you.
All right, Commissioner Mosby, did you have
Yes, I want to add on to that point of clarification. I think that we're missing is the commissioner knows that it doesn't meet that framework as a proposal amendment to the charter. All right, and so her intent was that, yes, she wants to have this identified, acknowledged, discussed, but in a discussion is going to be the right channel. And that right channel that she understood was going to be at the council. So she's not looking for it to go directly to the council. What she's looking at is if we could please look at a process similar to what we're doing so that we can see if it qualifies to go to the council. Thank you.
All right, I believe that concludes discussion on the amendment to the amendment. So, or the amendment to the motion. All in favor of the amendment to have a discussion about this proposal in the future when we're discussing proposals that might move on to the council for consideration. All in favor, please raise your cards. And then 5 online, just so that and then all opposed. And then any abstentions? All right, so that amendment passes. Back to the motion as amended, which is essentially the same thing. So, because it's moving it on to a time when we'll be discussing other proposals that would be up for consideration to move to the charter. So all in favor of, unless there's additional discussion. Commissioner Fletcher. Oh, sorry, council, thank you, Commissioner Liggins, I meant council.
Thank you, Chair, Commissioner Fletcher, District 5. With the current motion as amended on the floor, we haven't voted as a whole body on the substance of this proposal. I think it's incumbent upon us to maintain our practices and procedures, at least insofar as we have the whole body vote in favor of or against this proposal in its full substance prior to delegating where it goes to the ballot, to the council. And I think this might be putting the cart before the horse here. And so maybe I'm misinterpreting this, but as long as we get to vote as a body prior to whether this goes, if it goes to the council, okay. But I think we should at least have a whole break. Then I would be in support of this motion. But my understanding currently is this would go down a separate path to the council, and it's unclear to me if this whole body will vote prior to sending it to the council. Thank you.
Vice Chair Lentz.
I'm going to add on to that in thinking this through, I would say we move this on to second reading. We're not taking a vote on anything right now. We know what Commissioner Strickling has indicated that her intention and hope for the future of this is. But I say I'm going to vote no on the motion and move this to second reading, and then we vote to put it in the hopper or not, and then we could consider a motion to do something else with it or not, and then at the end of the day, when we get to the end, we'll see what we've got. And at that point, we will vote up or down on sending things to the ballot, and then we will vote again as a body on what we want to do with what's left over. So I think we're not ready for this. I'm voting no on the motion. Sorry for taking so much time.
All right, and as a reminder, we have 3 minutes. So, yes, can you please? There's a procedural question about if the original mover of the motion withdraws it, if that takes it all away. And if I can,
What point of order, we did vote on an amendment, so how does that impact?
You didn't.
We did vote on the amendment.
So now we did vote on something that the body put on the table. Can the original maker of the motion just withdraw everything? Because now we have an amendment to it. So that's just a question, parliamentary question to our parliamentarian or.
So I see that Susan Long is on, and I would love for our parliamentarian to weigh in on that.
Oops, sorry. Okay, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
So once the motion is moved and seconded, it belongs to the body. So the initial maker of the motion cannot withdraw it on their own. It belongs to the body, so you either agree by consensus to allow the withdrawal that was requested, or you just take a vote on whether to allow withdrawal or not.
All right, thank you so much. So is there any objection to withdrawing this motion? Seeing none, the motion is withdrawn. We are back to first reading. Is there any additional discussion on first reading for C26? Commissioner O'Leary.
Thank you. I'd like to move that this get tabled until we develop a second process. We're talking about moving this or doing something different with it, and we don't have a second process in place yet. So I think it's really imperative to have that process in place so that if we choose to move it somewhere else, there is somewhere else to move it. Thank you.
All right, so
Point of order.
Commissioner Layton.
The table is only germane if we plan to bring it back in the same meeting. So this motion, since it is 9 o'clock on the dot, is not going to work because we will not be able to bring it back in the same meeting.
Is there any additional, Commissioner Layton? All right, and then not seeing any hands on one. Commissioner Roby.
Yes, I don't feel like we had a first reading and discussion. We talked a lot about process and whether or not it's going to move, but I have things to say about this proposal, and I think fellow commissioners did too. So I would not like to move it to second reading because we haven't had a first reading discussion.
All right, so I do understand that and will agree. So we do need to adjourn because we have hit time for tonight. So that means
And adjourn to adjourn, even though we shouldn't, I move to adjourn.
all right, I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second? A second from, what was that? Commissioner Hunter, did you have? Okay.
Jake Hunter, District 4. I would just like the record to reflect that I'd like to apologize to Commissioner Herrera for coming around last week.
Thank you, Commissioner Hunter. All right, so I have a motion to adjourn. Did I hear a second?
Second.
Second from Commissioner Heatherington. All in favor or any discussion about
Yes,
it?
Madam Chair, I just motion really quickly. I disagree. We had first reading. There will be plenty of opportunity next week in second reading for all the comments to be made. And I feel like we are starting to get into filibuster hour with some of this activity. So I hope that we can tighten up a little things and move forward. Thank you.
All right, additional discussion, Commissioner Roy?
Is it my understanding, so just point of clarification, that this is going back to first reading, because we have not discussed the proposal, correct?
Yes, we are ending our discussion right where it is. We have not moved anything on to second reading, and we will pick back up on C26 next week. All right, all in favor of adjournment, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, please say nay. Any abstentions? Seeing none, meeting adjourned.
Around 5 minutes, 10 minutes, cleaned up.